Good afternoon, everyone. So today we will start a regular schedule of first year intermediate. Here first we will start with the structure of atom. So we'll start here structure of atom. Structure of atom or atomic structure, whatever it is. What is the atom? According to Greek terminology, atom means atomio. So it means that indivisible in nature, uncuttable in nature. Atom nothing but indivisible. We cannot divide further or uncuttable. Indivisible, uncuttable. That is called atom. But according to older theory, older philosophers, they told that matter, we know the matter, anything that has some mass, some space, but every matter can be made up of a small constituent particles, and the small constituent particles are the atoms only. Every building block can be made up of atoms. The smallest particle of matter is atom only. So this word atom was initially proposed by the scientist Dalton, and he proposed one theory, Dalton's atomic theory. There he proposed some rules and some points about this atom, and that points we will see here. So Greek philosopher and is a school teacher, John Dalton. He proposed this word atom. So according to Charles Dalton is Dalton's atomic theory, some of the important points of atomic theory. Dalton's atomic theory. So according to this, matter consists of indivisible atoms. Indivisible atoms. Means what? If you take any species or any matter, if you cut it, so we can continue to cut. So where you can stop means there is no further cutting. So that point, the last point is called atom. There is uncuttable in nature, indivisible in nature. That is according to the Dalton. Next, Dalton proposed like this, that all the atoms of same element, they are having same identical properties, and atoms of different elements, they are having different properties. Atoms of same element, have same properties, same or identical properties. So identical properties in the sense like mass, shape and size. This one. And similarly, atoms of different elements are having different properties. Atoms of same element, they are having identical properties, and atoms of different elements. of different properties. Different properties, nothing but their different masses or different shape or different size. What it means? Let us take here the example of one element sodium. Let me take here. A sodium element can be made up of so many sodium atoms. Let us assume all these are the sodium atoms. They'll combine each other, and in all sodium atoms they are having a similar size and similar shape and same type of mass. We can take another element like silver. Let me take. Let us assume here silver is having like this. So let me take one dot. And here, this is a silver. Again here all silver atoms, they are having similar size and shape and mass. So atoms of same element, they are having same properties, and this is all the circle indicates one individual atom. All circles here also circle with some internally we have one center dot. These are all individual atoms, and all these atoms are having similar properties. In the second statement, if you see, atoms of different elements are having different properties in the sense of mass and size and shape. And if we take a sodium atom, this is a sodium atom, and silver atom, this is a silver atom. Now if we compare these two, are they similar? Are they identical? No. This shape is different and this shape is different. So atoms of different element, they are having different properties. So that is proposed Dalton. And next, one more proposal here. Compounds can be formed. This already we have discussed at the law of chemical combination. Compounds are formed when atoms of different elements combine in a fixed ratio. Compounds are formed when atoms of different elements combine in a fixed ratio. There is a compound. Let me take example here. If we take water, here hydrogen is one element, oxygen is one element. They are having the mass ratio 2:1 mass ratio. Always hydrogen to oxygen 1. This is one compound. And let me take calcium oxide. Here one calcium, one oxygen. They are having atoms of different elements. When they combine in a fixed ratio, you will get compound. And one more point here. When chemical reactions involve, in case of chemical reactions, just exchange of atoms can take place or reorganization of atoms can take place. And there is no new creation or destruction of atoms. Atom neither created nor destroyed. Only the atoms can undergo redistribution or reorganization, or they can exchange between the reactant molecules. Here, chemical reactions involve reorganization. Reorganization of atoms or redistribution of atoms or exchange of atoms between the two compounds or two or whatever the number of compounds involved in a chemical reaction. And here there are neither created nor destroyed. Here atoms neither created nor destroyed. in a chemical reaction. So these are the few fundamental points explained by Dalton in its Dalton's atomic theory. But this theory couldn't explain a few of the points, why they will combine in a fixed ratio. And if you see some nuclear reaction, their mass can change also. That also not explained. And atoms can contain some charged particles. And these things couldn't explain by Dalton. And later research can explain why it is. In the charge of the atom, there is electrons, protons, everything that was discovered later. The new research can give the answer for these questions. So now we will see the fundamental particles in an atom. According to Dalton, we know that the atom is a lost particle. We cannot cut it further. So nothing is there inside of the atom. But later researchers proved that, so we can divide the atom, we can cut atom further, and atom also, it has some other fundamental particles. For example, matter exists with elements, element with atoms. Similarly, atom also having some fundamental particles like electrons, protons, neutrons, neutrinos, antineutrinos, mesons, pions. So many particles are there. But out of all these particles, we can say electrons, protons, neutrons, they are the will considered as a fundamental particles. So here fundamental particles of atom. Means we can divide further atom. So the main fundamental particles are electron, proton, and a neutron. These three are the fundamental. We'll consider that fundamental particles of an atom. So in this class, mainly we'll focus on the discovery of these electron, proton, neutron, and further their properties. We'll see one by one. So first we'll start with the discovery of electron. How electron was discovered, and then after proton and neutron. Discovery of electron. So electron was discovered by using cathode ray discharge tube experiment. Here we'll attempt one experiment that is called cathode ray discharge tube experiment. So this is a discharge tube experiment. What is a discharge tube? What it means? Discharge tube, it is a glass tube only, which consisting of two electrical plates. There is a electrode, simply we can call. We can see the structure of that discharge tube. It is a glass tube and it has some outlet. By using this outlet, we can create vacuum. This is a vacuum creator. And it consisting of two thin plates. They are called electrodes. One is cathode and one is anode. And these two electrodes will connect externally to the high voltage battery. It is connected to high voltage battery. This part left side, this is the anode, negatively charged plate, and this is positively charged plate. And these two are called electrode. And what electrode? Negative charge electrode generally we can call cathode. And this is a positively charged electrode, this is the anode. Anyhow, in this glass tube we can observe some of the gas molecule may be present, and we have to remove these all gas molecules by using the help of vacuum pump. So we can create vacuum here. Means creation of vacuum nothing but we have to create very low pressure conditions. So in this discharge tube we have to maintain low pressure. The low pressure is approximately 0.01 mmHg. Why? Because at low pressure conditions only the gas molecules can ionize. If you apply high voltage, the gas molecules present here, you cannot create 100% vacuum. We can very less vacuum, means very few number of gas molecules may be present. And at that particular condition, if you apply high voltage, this is a battery. With the help of this battery, we can create high voltage in that sealed gas tube, glass tube. We can apply high voltage approximately 10,000 ohms. Right? When you supply externally this much amount of voltage at low pressure conditions, then these gas molecules will ionize. Then they observe that some of the rays are moving from cathode to anode side. They observe the passage of rays from cathode to anode, and these rays are called cathode rays. And later on, they give the name for these cathode rays or the electrons. And this electron was initially discovered by the scientist J.J. Thomson. So the scientist who discovered electron means J.J. Thomson by using this cathode ray discharge tube experiment. What is a cathode ray discharge tube means? This is the one. What it is? It is one glass tube which consisting of two electrodes, and that is applied with a high voltage and low pressure. At the low pressure conditions, gas ions can be ionized, and they observed that some of the particles, some of the rays, they are moving from cathode to anode. Then how can you find out? These rays are invisible in nature. We cannot see the path of these rays, but we can find these that they are moving from cathode to anode. So we can coat this glass tube at one of the end, means at anode side, by fluorescent or phosphorescent material. So if we use here fluorescent or phosphorescent material, like zinc sulfide, here we will use the phosphorescent material zinc sulfide. When these rays hit on this phosphorescent coating, and then you can see some glow. Phosphorescent material, anyhow, it will glow when some light or some energy will fall under. Then this concludes that the rays are moving from cathode to anode side. Hence they are called cathode rays. Cathode rays, anyhow, they are moving from, cathode means negative, they are moving from negative electrode to the positive electrode. And so they give the name as the electrons. They carry the negative charge. And some properties, the characteristic properties of these cathode rays, if you see, properties. So here the properties of cathodes. That is, cathode rays move from cathode to anode. Cathode to anode, and so they are called cathode rays only. These rays are invisible in nature. these rays are invisible, but their behavior we can observe by coating some phosphorescent material at the side, anode side. So these rays travel in a straight line pathway. In absence of electric and magnetic field, move in straight line. In absence of external electric and magnetic field. And this was observed, why they are moving, how they are moving, the straight line pathway. That was observed by using this experiment. If we keep any object in the path of the cathode rays, some object you will keep like here. And then they observed that this object these cathode rays make the shadow of this object, exact the sharp shadow of this object. Let me change the color here. So which confirms that the cathode rays are moving in straight line pathway. And these cathode rays are having particle nature and they have the kinetic energy. And this also they observed the characteristic properties. Cathode rays are having kinetic energy. So how the kinetic energy, that also they can observe that if you place any rotating wheel, paddle wheel at the place of this on the path of the cathode rays, and they observe that we'll take rotating paddle wheel here, like this one, a rotating paddle, and this cathode rays can rotate this paddle, this wheel. And how can it rotate? The energy, that kinetic energy can cause here to rotate this object. And this indicates that cathode rays, they are having kinetic energy. And also one more property, cathode rays, we know that they can carry a negative charge. They observed that cathode rays carries negative charge. And this was observed by placing some by applying some external electric field, external electric and magnetic field. For example, if you apply some electric field externally, one is positive, one is negative. Let us assume this is positive plate and this is negative plate. When you apply some external electric field, they observe that these rays are moving instead of in a straight line pathway. They observe some deflection in the path of their path. The deflection is, these rays are deflected towards positive plate of the external electric field. Why they'll deflect towards the positive side? If they have the negative charge, then only they can move, they can attracted by the positive plate. So they observed that the deflection in the path of the cathode rays, that they are deflected or they are moved towards the positive plates. From this they concluded that they are having negative charge. Similarly, when you apply magnetic field, and also they observed that they are deflected towards the direction, whatever the direction the negative particle can deflect. The same observation they observed here. So from this they concluded that these cathode rays are having negative charge. So in presence of external magnetic or electric field, these cathode rays can undergo deflection. So these negative rays later on called as electrons. Negative cathode rays are called electrons. The name given is. In presence of external electric or magnetic field, cathode rays undergo deflection. The deflector. So that concludes that they are having the negative charge. Regarding these properties of cathode rays, these points you should remember. Finally, the important point, that is the nature of cathode rays. They found that they are independent on the type of the electrode used and the type of gas present in that. In the discharge tube, we have the electrodes. We don't know it is made up of which metal. It may be with copper, silver, some tungsten, iron, nickel, something, some X metal. Electrode generally can be made up of the metals. You can take any metal, and also gas may be present, whatever the type of the gas it is. Doesn't matter, and cathode rays are having same property. The properties of cathode rays will not depends on the nature of the metal used and the type of gas present in that discharge tube. This point is very, very important out of all properties. Sometimes they'll ask the question. The nature of cathode rays. Is found to be independent of nature of the cathode material, and nature of the gas in the discharge tube. In the discharge tube. Gas, it may be hydrogen, it may be oxygen, nitrogen, noble gases, doesn't matter. The nature is same. So, according to this, we can give one statement that these cathode rays or electrons are considered as the basic constituent particles of all atoms. So, all atoms will constitute these basic constituent particles, that is electrons. So, here cathode rays. So, henceforth we can use instead of cathode rays the name electrons. The name is given as electrons are considered as basic constituent particle. Of all atoms, whatever the atom it is, and they are having the basic constituent particle electrons. So, these all the properties of cathode rays, just you should remember. So, like this, they discovered initially the electron by using that cathode ray discharge tube experiment.
One scroll last part.
Next we will see same J.J. Thomson further he found that the charge to mass ratio of electron, that is called specific charge of electron. We can again discuss here specific charge. This we can represent E by M. Is specific charge nothing but charge to mass ratio of electron. That is called specific charge. Again, J.J. Thomson found that value. He has taken the same that cathode ray discharge tube experiment with a slight modification. Here is the glass tube like this. He selected to identify this E by M value. Slight modification of the glass tube. Slide. This is a type of a conical type glass tube, let us assume. And this was coated with some fluorescent or phosphorescent material at end of the glass tube, one side and this side. This is some phosphorescent material, means zinc sulfide screen, let us assume. The setup is the same. We have the cathode here and anode here, and we made a small slit here, a small hole in the anode, and both are connected again externally to the high voltage battery. And if you apply high voltage, anyhow the cathode rays can move from cathode to anode through the slit. Then what he did, simultaneously he applied magnetic and electric field, externally magnetic and electric field both. First, when he applied the electric field externally, then he found that there was a deflection in the cathode rays, the path of the cathode rays, and he observed the cathode ray will hit to the zinc sulfide screen at point A, somewhere here. This is in presence of electric field. In presence of electric field, he observed that the cathode rays hit the zinc sulfide screen at point A. And later he removed that electric field and he applied the externally magnetic field, and then observed that now the cathode ray hit the screen at some other point, that is at point C. This is in presence of magnetic field. Generally, if there is no external electric and magnetic field, we know that cathode rays will move straight line pathway and they will hit the point B here. This is absence of both electric and magnetic field. So when you apply electric field or when you apply magnetic field, you can apply some deflection. And now later what he did, by careful monitoring of this application of electric and magnetic field, anyhow they are opposite in nature, both electric field and magnetic field, they are quite opposite. And if you manage properly the electric field and magnetic field and you equate it, then the cathode ray can hit at point B by what is called a proper monitoring of both electric and magnetic field. He observed that the cathode ray can hit at point B as like the absence of both electric and magnetic field. So this is possible when if the electric field and magnetic field, if the magnitude of electric field and magnetic field both are equal, they can be cancel each other and it is nullify it, and the cathode ray can be hit at point B. So based on this observation, and you found the charge to mass ratio of electron. This much. You found the E by m value of the electron is 1.758 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg. And this is the value of charge to mass ratio. This is by careful observation and careful experimental analysis, by applying some electric field and magnetic field, by making them equal, and finally concluded this value 1.758 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg.
Electric field and
So here you can see where E is the charge of electron, and M means mass of electron. So we written with the subscription E, nothing but mass of electron. Now you can see some important observations in this experiment. These observations are important. Or some important points we can say. Here, greater the magnitude of the charge present on the cathode rays, and they observed more deflection in the path of the cathode rays in presence of external electric and magnetic field. That you can just note it down. Greater the magnitude of charge, in the particle, greater is the deflection. When greater the deflection? When we applied electric and magnetic field. When electric and magnetic field is applied. The second point you can note it down here. Lighter the mass of the particle, greater will be the deflection. So as the mass increases, the deflection will decrease. So lighter particles can cause more deflection than the heavier particles. So one more point. These 2 points are very important. Here deflection. Deflection of electron or deflection of cathode rays depends on what? The magnitude of the charge and the mass of the particle. Directly proportional to the magnitude and inversely proportional to the mass, we can say like that. Simply we can write the deflection, if you want, is directly proportional to charge of the particle by inversely proportional to the mass of the particle. And one more here, the deflection of electron also increases when you apply more voltage. The deflection of electron depends on voltage also. voltage applied. So you apply more voltage, you can see more deflection. If you apply less voltage, less deflection. So these are the observations. This is very, very important. So based on these observations, so finally they concluded the value. What is that? The charge to mass ratio of electron. This is for electron only. E by m is equal to 1.758 into 10 power 11 coulomb. This C means here coulomb. C indicates a coulomb. And anyhow, this is a kg.
So once please.
Now you can see few more important points here. That is, as the velocity of electron increases, the specific charge of electron decreases. That is mass to charge to mass ratio. Why? Because here the relative mass of electron increases. As the velocity of electron increases, the specific charge decreases. This is because relative mass of electron increases. Here relative mass of electron increases, that is why the specific charge decreases. And the relative mass of electron we can calculate like this. The mass of electron is the relative mass of electron is equals to mass of electron at rest position by 1 minus velocity of electron by velocity of light square. This is the formula. This formula is important, I just you should remember. And here ME, let us take relative mass of electron. Let me take R or MR. M0 means mass of electron when it is rest position. At rest. And where V is the velocity of electron, and C is the speed of light. Speed or velocity, whatever it is. Here you can see that statement. What is that? As the velocity of electron increases, then what happens? Specific charge decreases. Why? Because this relative mass will increase. What is the specific charge? Specific charge means E by m, mass of electron. Now you check the mass of electron here. If velocity increases, this overall value, what happens? If V increases, overall value will increase. If this overall value increases, this root value will decrease, right? And if this value decreases, then automatically this rest of MR value will increase. Denominator decreases, ultimately if this value decreases, the resultant value will increase, isn't it? If this value increases, means your mass of electron increases, then overall value decreases. What is this overall value? Specific charge. Specific charge decreases. This point also you should remember. So this is something about the discovery of electron and charge to mass ratio. So discovery of electron proposed by the electron, and charge to mass ratio also J.J. Thomson discovered. That is a value 1.75. We can take approximately 1.75 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg.